Hello and welcome back to Sports Ball with Palmer. In this video, we will be going over my 2025 college football preview. This is just again going to be an overview of the season. And then later in the week, I'll actually get into my week zero picks and predictions for the actual games. Um, yeah, sorry. So we are about to kick off the 2025 college football season. It is finally back. This week is week zero. Um, First, I'm going to go over my individual team previews again. Just um, not every single team, but the teams that I like and follow, which would be the Missouri Tigers, the Kansas State Wildcats, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, the Michigan Wolverines, and the Miami Hurricanes. So I will do a team preview for each of those five teams. Then I will do my conference predictions, and then finally my national championship pick and prediction. Or just my, I don't know, I guess prediction, but pretty much just pick. And I will also go over the initial AP poll rankings and give my take on it. Probably some of it not new, but I mean, who cares? I'm giving my opinion. This is my podcast. So I'll start my preview with the Missouri Tigers. We'll kind of give two predictions. One is just my super absolute, no, I am not drunk. No, I'm not high right now. Okay, I'm just going to get that out of the way. But my super optimistic prediction from them are actual, like realistic, like what I think they'll do this year prediction. So without further ado, the Tigers are going to go 11-1, win the SEC championship game against either Georgia, Texas, or Texas A&M, and then they'll win the national championship, taking down the Penn State Nittany Lions for Missouri's first national championship. Let's go! It's going to happen this year. Tiger fans, believe it. Okay, put that out of the way. Not realistically, they are coming off back-to-back 10-win seasons. Eli Drinkowitz has got this team and this program pointed in the right direction, in the absolute right direction. So I think they can get to 10 wins. I mean, maybe even 11, but I'll still safely say 10 wins, and I'll say 10 regular season wins because I will say they've had back-to-back 10-win seasons. Now they went 9-3 in the regular season last year and then won the bowl game to get to 10 wins. Now this year, I'll say just like 2 years ago, they actually will finish the regular season 10-2. Now I think the absolute floor for this team is 8-4. The ceiling is, I would say, 11-1, but probably more 10-2. 11-1 if they just have that magical season like they did 2 years ago. But I will say probably more 10-2. Because they have a relatively easy schedule. And of course, I know that has been made a lot by a lot of people out there, like just like fans, but also people in the media who are like, "Oh, Mizzou has a super easy schedule." Like, okay, for literally every team in the SEC, it is the same schedule as last year, just flipped. So whoever you played at home, they are now playing on the road. Sorry, I'm just going to pull up their schedule here real quick. Should have already had it pulled up. That is my fault. But they have a relatively easy schedule. Just quick before I actually kind of dive into the schedule. And I should have had this all pulled up before. That is my fault. For each of these teams. So, my bad. Give me just a second. I'll kind of talk a little bit, but because I do want to go over their schedules. Um, okay. Oops. Not 20. And finally, Miami. Okay. So again, I have a relatively, but again, it's the same, and it was favorable last year, and I'd still say it's favorable this year. And they get their two toughest games, Alabama and Texas A&M. They get at home this year, whereas they were on the road last year. And then um, I'm not gonna just put a number. Those are 1 and 2 for sure. Outside of that, and part of it will determine um, like injuries, performance. But South Carolina is going to be a tough game uh, this year. Auburn, especially being on the road in Auburn, no matter how good or bad Auburn is doing, Jordan Hare is an absolute tough place to play. So, yeah. Um, and then Oklahoma is another tough game, especially with that game being on the road in Norman. Don't know when the last time Mizzou won in Norman was, um, but it's been a while. And then, even though I absolutely despise this school and am completely out on them, they're complete frauds, completely overhyped again. They have been the last couple years, and that is the K Puke Jayhawks. Yes, I said that right. Come at me if you want. K Puke. Um, that school to the west. Is it's just tough because it's a rivalry game and it's the first time. I mean, they've been playing in basketball the last 4 years, but now it's back on the gridiron. Now it's back on the football field. So there's going to be a lot of emotions in that game. Now that game is being played in Columbia, Missouri, which absolutely Mizzou has the edge. Um, they'd even have the edge if that game was played in Lawrence because, yeah. Okay. But there's going to be a lot of emotions. How do they control their emotions in this rivalry game when it comes back? But those are the toughest games I see on their schedule. Um, like I said, absolutely 8-4, and that would be losses to me to uh, Alabama, A&M, Oklahoma, and Auburn. I would say Auburn over South Carolina. Um, so 2 road losses and then the 2 home losses. But I think they can get to 10-2 because I think I'll still say one of the um, Oklahoma, Auburn, or South Carolina games is a loss, but I think they get one of Alabama or Texas A&M. I think they can get one of them at home in Columbia this year. Um, Now, again, this is week 0, so next week will be week 1. Um, they will play Central Arkansas. When? Need I say anymore? Then again, like I said, Kansas. The Border War is back, baby. September 6th in Columbia, Missouri. It's not Border Showdown. No, 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 no. It's Border War because that game is war. Oh, they put out the hype video like a month ago. I want to say it was a month. That hype video of Mizzou. I'm sure Kansas has put one out. Not watching it, don't care. Um, but Mizzou put one out. Oh yeah, it had me ready to run through a brick wall. Like I am ready for this game. Like this game, this rivalry is just straight up built on hatred on both sides because the two schools absolutely hate each other. And I will predict a Missouri win. So 2-0. Then they'll play Louisiana at home. So, oh, if I didn't say Central Arkansas, it's at home. Um, and then Louisiana at home, win. Then South Carolina at home. Now they lost that game last year, but that game was in Columbia, South Carolina. Yeah, to Columbia, the Battle of Columbia. Um, they lost that game at the very end, and I thought they won because they scored with just like on a Luther Burden touchdown with just over a minute, and it looked like the game was over. And then South Carolina went down and won the game, and it was heartbreaking. Because had they won that game, they probably would have gone to the playoff last year because they would have been 10-2. Even with those losses to Alabama and A&M, I think they would have been in at 10-2. But that kept them out of the playoff. So I think they're gonna have a little bit of revenge on their mind, knowing that that loss last year most likely kept them out of the college football playoff. I think they get them. So 4-0. But then we have all the Mizzou, other than like the first couple times we played South Carolina when Mizzou first joined the SEC, they have really played well and they have um, like dominated this series against South Carolina, especially recently. Um, 'Cause I believe they had won 5, if not 6 in a row against South Carolina before they lost last year. So, don't wanna start another streak, and again, I think Drink's gonna have them motivated and prepared, because this is the team this was the loss that really kept Mizzou out of the playoff last year, so I'm pretty sure they'll win. Then, week 5. But or maybe week 6. But either way, game 5 at home against UMass win. So 5-0 for the Missouri Tigers. Then Alabama Crimson Tide rolls into Columbia, Missouri. Both teams should probably be 5-0, or at least Alabama 4-1. Because I know they played Georgia, but I can't remember if that game is before this game, before the Missouri game, or after the Missouri game. If it's before, I think Georgia gets Alabama this year, and that game's going to be played in Athens. And at least with Kirby Smart there, they have not played in Athens. They played in the state of Georgia, like they played in Atlanta, at the Mercedes-Benz or whatever it's called now stadium. But they have not played in Athens. I think Georgia gets them in Athens. Sorry to all any Alabama fans that might watch this. I know a couple that are probably going to be watching this, and I'm going to shout you out, Josh Green, Larry Bray. Yeah, I got Georgia taking down your Alabama Crimson Tide. So, I also got, hey, I've said I think Missouri is going to get one of Alabama or A&M. I'm going to say it. Missouri is going to beat Alabama. Um, this is not Nick Saban's Alabama. I'm not saying Kalen DeBoer is a horrible coach. Like Alabama's still going to go like at minimum like 8-4. I don't think they're ever going to bottom out and go like 6-6 or 7-5. Like they're Alabama, they're like still way too talented for that, but they're not going to have the Nick Saban level of success of being like 10-2, 11-1, 12-0 every single year. Are they going to have those seasons? Yes. Now I think Alabama goes 10-2 this year, and I think their two losses are to Missouri and Georgia. Um, that's just me. I think Missouri can get Alabama. Um, so say hey 6-0, and if Missouri is 5-0, which I'll get to it once I cover the rankings, but Missouri is coming into this season unranked. I think that's a little bit disrespectful, especially with Missouri coming off back-to-back 10-win seasons. I think it's a little bit decal bias. Like Ole Miss is ranked, and they have a new quarterback too, just like Missouri is going to have a new quarterback since Brady Cook graduated. And I mean, he didn't get. I can't remember if he got drafted or not, or at least he was signed as a free agent to the New York Jets. Um, but like other than that, like Missouri had a really good transfer class, portal class, and they had another good recruiting class. Like Ole Miss was the same, but they're ranked and Missouri's not. And I think that's just a little bit too like Lane Kiffin, like a little bit more favoritism towards Lane Kiffin. And I'm not saying Lane Kiffin's horrible, and I'm not saying like Drink's horrible. I think Drink has his program pointed absolutely in the right direction. But if Missouri was Ole Miss, we would be ranked. So like we're coming in unranked, and it keeps with the mantra that they have had the last 2 years, and that is STP, something to prove. They have something to prove. Again, they are again being disrespected and overlooked just because we're Missouri. And again, to shout out a podcast I listen to shout out Tucker Franklin and Maggie Johnson on Mizzou that too. Um, like they said it, like that's just being a Missouri fan. That's just Mizzou. We're always going to be overlooked, disrespected because we're Missouri. Because like, I mean, granted, I wish Missouri was still in the Big 12, but like we're kind of on the fringes of the SEC. Like we're like if you're from Missouri, you would absolutely know like the southern part, especially like the Boot Hound is like very southern. And then like the rest of the state, like Columbia, Kansas City, St. Louis, you know, um, especially those three major cities, are more Midwest, but like so we're kind of we're the most northern school in the SEC. So like even like the Texas schools, like they can kind of classify being in the South. So it's like, yeah, we get overlooked just because of where we're located, because we're Missouri. Like that's just how it's going to be, even if we were to have like 4, 5, 10+ win seasons and have a playoff run and maybe even win a national championship. Not just me like being like super I'm saying we're going to win the national championship this year, but like uh, I still don't think it would like even if we had that, like I feel like Missouri is still going to get a little bit overlooked. Um, but again, going to predict it. Mizzou beats Alabama 6-0. Then so their first 6 games are at home. And again, that's part of where it comes in is like your first 6 games are at home. But then that also means to finish the season, we're playing a lot more on the road, which, like, as far as opponent wise, like, it's definitely favorable. Now, when you start looking at it, like, again, like I was saying, Auburn is a tough place to play, no matter how Auburn is doing. And Auburn has been down the last several years. That is still tough. Like when they played in Auburn, I believe it was 3 years ago, and they lost a heartbreaker there. But like they lost at Auburn the last time they played there, so it's going to be a tough game. But I think they still pull it off, 7-0. And again, going back to the Alabama, if Mizzou is 5-0 going into that game, I'm pretty sure even with not really like other than Kansas. Well, I mean, you would play. I've played South Carolina, who is ranked. Um, relatively stuff. So like that's I mean, South Carolina is I mean, Kansas provides a good interesting test week 2 in the second game, and then like South Carolina is the first major test, and then but I think even more so Alabama is the first big time test. Um, so we'll see. But I think they get the win down at Auburn, 7-0. Then they'll play at Vandy. Vandy's been the punching bag, and I mean, they went 6-6 last year and made it to a bowl, and I think I forget who the coach is because if you've seen that SEC documentary on Netflix, which I did, I thought it was pretty good. Although it's like, okay, you didn't talk about Texas, you didn't highlight Alabama, you didn't highlight Georgia. Um, like, why didn't you highlight the uh, you know, like they had LSU, like at least they had LSU to like as like premier SEC programs, but like they mostly highlighted like South Carolina and Arkansas and Vandy. They did highlight A&M, but then like they highlighted Florida, who wasn't good last year. It's like, why are you? Did you like other than South Carolina having a good year, and they like kind of briefly highlighted Tennessee? Um, like Florida didn't have a good year. Arkansas didn't have a good year. Um, Like, why are you highlighting those schools? Like A&M was okay, but again, they went like 8-4, which is what they usually do. Um, like whatever. Um, but they did highlight Vandy, and they beat Alabama last year, and arguably the upset of the season. So I think they can because they do have a pretty again. It's other than the non-con. I mean, it is the same, but like some of the teams like they either just barely lost to or like they beat last year. I think they can beat this year, but like they just barely lost to Mizzou. Like that was a game, but like it was kind of like one of those like yeah, they ended up beating Bama. I believe it was even the next week that they beat Bama. Um, but I think Mizzou still beats them because we've had Vandy's number. Now, could they beat us just like eventually? Like, okay, we had a 6 game like against South Carolina. Like that streak was going to come to an end at some point. So could our streak against Vandy come to an end this year? Absolutely, I think it could happen. But I think Mizzou gets the win. 7 or 8. Sorry. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 8. Yep, 8. No. All right. Then they will play Texas A&M at home after a 2 game road trip. I think it's a loss. Like I said, I think they're going to get one of. So I said they beat Alabama. I'm going to have them losing to A&M. Could the reverse happen? They lose to Alabama, get A&M? Yeah, absolutely. But at least going through mine, I say they lose to Texas A&M. Then they will play Mississippi State, who is arguably the worst program in the SEC right now. But then they will play, um, finish the season on the road, back-to-back weeks against Oklahoma and Arkansas. I said 10-2. I mean, again, I could see 11-1, and that's with them losing to one of, and they could lose to both Alabama and Arkansas. Because again, I mean, Oklahoma is ranked. Like, what makes you like after looking at Oklahoma last year? What makes you think they should be a top 25 team in the country right now? No, absolutely not. And Brett Venables is on the hot seat in Oklahoma. He could be fired by this game. With it being late in the year as it is, like he could be fired by this game. Um, Like I said, I don't know. That's what scares me is like we have historically struggled like as a school against Oklahoma. So like beating when we beat them last year, like I was so happy, like that was awesome. I was a crazy turned into a crazy game. Like I didn't think Mizzou was going to blow them out, but I thought they would win comfortably, and they ended up having to on a well, defensive fumble recovery for a touchdown pulled that game off like in the closing minutes of the fourth quarter. After Oklahoma had drove down and took the lead the previous drive, um, and then we went. I believe we went 3-and-out, and then defense came up huge and had the fumble recovered for the touchdown. Like, oh, that was awesome. So that's what worries me is like, could Venerables be fired, especially if because they have a tough schedule, and especially if they lose the Red River rivalry and have some other early season losses, and they're going to another 5-7, 6-6 year. Venerables could be gone by this game, and they're not playing anything, and Mizzou could go in there and win. Um, but we could lose. I will say I'm gonna kind of go back. I'm gonna say 11-1. So I'm gonna say Mizzou wins this game. They win for the first time in Norman, and again, I don't know when. Didn't look it up. Maybe should have, but maybe that's something I can bring up on my next episode. And then they will end the season at Arkansas. And again, like Sam Pittman is a guy that is on the hot seat for Arkansas. He could be fired by this game as well, especially if they have early season struggles in middle of the season struggles, and they're again going to another 6-6, 5-7 type season. He could be gone by this game, and especially in this NIL and portal era, we have seen players quit on the season and not like be playing for like whoever the like interim backup coach is. So could we see that for both Oklahoma and Arkansas? Absolutely. I think that's on the table. That's in the cards. But Mizzou is absolutely, even before Missouri joined the SEC, we have dominated Arkansas. Um, and it's funny, like they get so mad, and then like we beat them every year, and they're like, "How do we keep losing to Mizzou?" Well, it's like, yeah, well, we're not as bad as you say we are. Even bad Missouri teams, though, have beaten them. Um, like it just seems like we find a way to beat them. So I'll say win. So Mizzou 11-1. Um, could that be good enough? Yes, but and I hate Texas, and I'm going to show it horns down, absolutely horns down. Um, but Texas, I don't want. I don't want to get into like what classifies as a school being back or not, but like they're kind of back, um, like almost back. Like they've had back-to-back seasons where they've gone to the playoff and been in the Final Four. Now they haven't been in the national championship. They haven't won a national championship, which, and again, we can kind of get into what like super testify as a program being back. Like, oh, like everyone's like Miami's back, or when is Nebraska going to be back, or stuff like some of those schools. I think winning a national championship is the icing on the cake because if, especially in this era, and especially with the expanded playoff, like if you're making the playoff, if you're like in the last four, if you're winning 9+, 10+ games, not just one season, like if you've done it like 2, 3, 4 seasons in a row, and then you mix in being in the playoff, like making at least like getting out of the first round and being one of the final four teams or in the championship game and you lose. And then like if you win, like I think that's just the icing on the cake. They'll like firmly say, hey, we're back. Like, but like we've been back because like we've proven we're back among the national title contenders every year. But I think and I'll get more into the general once I go and do my conference picks predictions. I think I'm not like a huge believer in Brian Kelly, but LSU looks solid. Ole Miss still looks solid. I think Alabama, again, I'm saying 10-2. So obviously, if Mizzou's 11-1, they would be ahead of them. But I think Georgia's going to be. I mean, Georgia's Georgia. Like with Kirby, like under Kirby Smart, like Georgia is, and they had a quote unquote down season last year and still in the SEC. And I said Texas. I do think A&M actually could have that season this year where they get to Atlanta. Um, so I think Mizzou's going to be in that mix with, especially at 10-2 or 11-1. They're going to be in that mix of teams vying for Atlanta. Um, but I'm not going to pick them to make it to it, like actually go to Atlanta. Um, and I'll say who once I actually go to my SEC. But that is my Mizzou Tigers preview. And then now I will talk about the Kansas State Wildcats, who are playing in week 0 in Ireland for Farmageddon against Iowa State. I think it's so dumb they're playing in Ireland. I don't care. It is so dumb that they are playing that game in Ireland. That game, especially being a rivalry, not just a rivalry game, it's a conference game. That game should be played on campus in Manhattan, Kansas, or Ames, Iowa. Like if like Kansas State was playing like Georgia Tech or someone like that, like a non-con game in Ireland, fine, whatever. I still wouldn't like really like it because I think, especially in college, like, and I'll get to it on the NFL once I actually talk about that and like talk Chiefs. I don't even like the international games for the NFL. I think they're dumb. Um, I just think it's dumb. Like I get you want to grow the sport and like it's a business and they're focused on that. I just think it's dumb because like I'm okay. Like I know some people are just even against neutral site, like not outside of like, conference championships and they don't like neutral site games. They would rather them be played on campus because, like, I mean, yeah, exactly. Like that atmosphere on campus, like that, like I went to that game 3 years ago, 4 years ago, um, in Manhattan when they played, and then Iowa State absolutely steamrolled K State. But like the atmosphere, especially leading up to that game, which stadium isn't on campus, and I mean I didn't go on campus, but just like even around the stadium, that energy in the stadium, before the game, it was like amazing. Like it was a great atmosphere. Like people were fired up for that game. Um, so like I can't like so like, and I've been to other college football games. Like I've been to one other game in Manhattan. It was a knock-on. I can't remember who K State played. I've been to a handful of games in Columbia for Mizzou. I've been to a couple games up in Lincoln, Nebraska to watch Nebraska. I've been to Arrowhead and seen Mizzou play BYU there. And I've seen the border war because before Mizzou left, they played the last like 4 or 5 um, games at Arrowhead, which I think it's awesome that that game is being the Border Wars being played on campus. Um, I was like kind of okay because like in that case, like, well, I mean, Mizzou BYU, like I was a little interesting. Now, granted, like BYU has like a huge alumni base across the country, so they still had like a good amount of fan support there at Arrowhead, and they would have had support in Columbia. Um, and I just love that. Well, that game was played on my birthday, so it was awesome. But like Mizzou and Kansas playing like Kansas. Well, actually, Kansas City is a little bit closer to Lawrence than it is Columbia, but like you have a whole bunch of Missouri and Kansas fans in Kansas City, so like that atmosphere and energy was still there. So I think that's like a little bit different. Like I think it's like it's a little bit different. It would be like different if like Missouri played like Oregon um, at Arrowhead, although that would still almost be like a home game for Mizzou because there would be a lot more. So I guess like if they played that game in like Denver or something, like okay, that's a little bit weird. I don't like that. Like either play that game in Eugene or play that game in Columbia. Um, but like Farmageddon being played in Dublin, Ireland, I absolutely hate. That game should be played on campus. Um, but okay, sorry, I was rambling a little bit. I think which Iowa State has won the last 2. But this has kind of been like a back and forth rivalry. Like, I don't think teams. I mean, I'm sure it's happened, but at least lately, like neither team has won more than two in a row. Or so I think Kansas State will get them. I think they'll get that game, which is huge, especially for the Big 12, um, Big 12 race. Then week two, they will play North Dakota, or not week two. They don't even get a bye week, which in the last couple of years, I feel like teams have gotten a bye week the next week after the Ireland game. So it's interesting. I don't know if Iowa State has a bye, but Kansas State doesn't have a bye. Um, I think they get it now. Then they'll play Army at home. And Kansas State, I believe, is technically the home team. I believe so because I think that game was played in Ames last year. Could be wrong. So I think Iowa State is the visiting, Kansas State's the home team. Could be wrong. Um, at least looking it up, uh, it looks like it is a home game for Kansas State. At least looking at it. Then they'll play Army, which that is going to be tough. Like Army, like all the service academy schools are really tough. Um, um, like that game is going to be tough. Army had a really good year last year. Um, so, but especially I think that game being well, now granted, Army almost went into Oklahoma 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I know it's been in the last 5 years. Like Army almost went into Norman, Oklahoma, and beat Oklahoma. So I'm not gonna say just because that game is Manhattan, like win, but I'm gonna say win. I think it's going to be a close game, and it'll come down to the fourth quarter. I think it's going to be like one possession, one score win, victory. But I'm going to say Kansas State gets it done, 3-0. And then also they're coming into the season ranked number 22. Um, then they will take on the Arizona Wildcats on the road. Now I think Arizona is going to be improved this year. They didn't have a good first year in the Big 12. But I think they will bounce back this year. But I'm still going to say Kansas State's going to get them 4-0. Then they will come back home and play UCF. Now, Scott Frost is back, and he kind of had some interesting things to say in an interview earlier um, in the offseason about Nebraska, which kind of fired up a lot of Nebraska fans. It's like, come on, like, why are you saying that? Like, I get it. His tenure didn't go like a lot of people thought and hoped it would, but he was given, especially being a former player at Nebraska, won a national championship at Nebraska. Like, he was given by the university, by the athletic department, every opportunity to succeed, to get it done, and he didn't. Now, I mean, I'm sure, especially being a former player, former quarterback at Nebraska, like expectations were so high, and like I'm sure he felt that, and just maybe for whatever reason, just couldn't get it done. So now he's back at UCF this year, where he had success. Obviously, that's where he came. He was at UCF before Nebraska hired him. Um, so now you see, and I'm gonna kind of sound a little bit like a hypocrite, and I don't want to completely get into like, oh, well, this conference is tougher. Like, oh, the SEC is the best. Which I mean, I'm still gonna say the SEC is still really good. Now there's a lot of bias, especially by ESPN, towards the SEC, where the gap, and again, you've seen the last two national champions be from the Big Ten. Um, I would still say that now the ACC, eh, but the Big Ten and the Big 12 have closed that gap. And I would also still say the SEC is a little bit top heavy. Like their bad teams are kind of bad. And then top to bottom, the Big 12 is like honestly really good. And I still wouldn't say like top to bottom Big 10. Like Big 10 is a little bit top heavy and their middle teams are decent, but then their bad teams, all Purdue, Maryland, Northwestern, Rutgers, although Rutgers is okay, like they're maybe a little bit more towards the middle of the pack, but like their bad teams are bad. So like they're kind of like the SEC, where like the bad teams are bad, the like upper echelon are really good, and then like their middle of the pack is like decent, like they're solid teams. But I would honestly argue top to bottom, the Big 12 is like really solid. Like, yeah, there's still some bad teams in the Big 12, yeah, but I would say it's top to bottom. So, but they were in the American Conference at that time. And like, while the American was and still is kind of decent, like, I would argue they're one like outside the well, not power. I was going to say power five, but it's not power five anymore. It's power four. Outside the power four, like they're probably like one of the top. But I would say the Mountain West is kind of right there, and the Sun Belt is kind of right there too. Um, so now that UCF is in a Power Four conference, we'll see. But I'm going to say Kansas State W. 5-0. Then they will head to Baylor and take on the Baylor Bears. I'm going to say loss because Baylor is improved and out of the favorites like Kansas State, Baylor, Texas Tech, Arizona State, like those are kind of the four favorites to win the conference this year. Like Baylor is going to be good. Um, and this game being on the road in Baylor, like that's a tough place to play. I'm going to say Baylor gets the win. Then they will, so they will go. They have a little bit rotating road at Arizona, home to UCF, road to Baylor, come home play TCU. um, Now I think TCU is going to be improved. And again, I think the Big 12 is open. Like Arizona State was picked to finish last year, and they won the Big 12 last year. So it is wide open. Um, I will say they win, so 6-1. Then you have the Sunflower Showdown, which they have won, what is it, 16, 17 straight games against Kansas. I don't see that ending. Like, yeah, now Kansas almost beat them the last 2 years, but it's kind of like, could that almost work against them? Because it's like, we've come so close and didn't, and then, like, especially if Kansas State jumps out on them, like, 14, 17, nothing. They could get into, even though this game is being played in the newly renovated booth, like cool. Like, yeah, I'm sure like they'll get a little bit more home crowds this year than they normally do because they've renovated the stadium. But like, I mean, and I know last year was like they were kind of playing like they played at Arrowhead for some of their games, home games, and um, Children's Mercy Park, where Sporting KC played for some of their home games. Like they barely struggled to sell out Children's Mercy Park. Now, granted, again, they had another. They were what, like 7-5 last year, so like cool. Like I don't. They're not gonna be like they'll be 6-6, 7-5, 5-7 this year. Like nah, um, nah. And then so when 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 7-1. Then they will come home to play Texas. I think playing doing this little. Um, I think they'll beat they'll play Texas Tech. You think they'll win? Um, then they will play at Oklahoma State. Now Oklahoma State wasn't good last year. I think they'll be a little bit improved. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I still trust Mike Gundy. Like that was his first, I think, losing season ever at Oklahoma State, or at least in a really long time, like 20 years or something. Like he's been at Oklahoma State for a long time now. Um, and Kansas State historically has not played well in Stillwater at Oklahoma State. I'm going to say that's a loss. Then they'll go on the road to Utah. So like they'll finally have like back to back road games. They don't have like back to back. Well, other than early in the year, they don't have back to back conference home games, which is kind of crazy. Like usually you at least have like one stretch where you play back to back home games. Um, but then they'll go to Utah. I'm going to say that's a loss. I think Utah's going to be improved this year. Um, but going on the road to Utah, like they went on the road to BYU last year. Yeah, BYU was improved, but I still thought K State was the better team. Now, I'm not going to say Utah's like a vastly better team. I think they're comparable. I would say K State maybe slightly better, but like Utah is really good at home. And that elevation, like it was like BYU is good at home because they play in that elevation, especially when schools like okay, Utah go in there, it doesn't affect them because they're used to playing at elevation, or like Boise State or um, some of those schools like they're used to playing at elevation. Like obviously K State, you don't play at elevation, um, so it takes some getting used to. I think they'll lose that, so that's their third loss. Um, so I have them 8-3 right now, and they'll finish the season against always overhyped Colorado fighting Dion's. You don't have Shador, who is not a good quarterback. He's overhyped as hell, just because his last name is Sanders. Um, there's a people like he should have known. There's also a reason he freaking fell to the fifth round. Like, like you can call it GMs, but like also like he did that to himself. Um, so like there's a reason he freaking fell to the fifth round. Um, if there are no Shador Sanders haters left, it's because I'm dead. I don't care. And no, I'm not being racist. No, I'm against him. Like I've watched him play. Like did I watch every single Colorado game? No, but I like okay when they would play like Kansas. Like I still watched enough. Like when they would play like Kansas State, Texas Tech, Oregon when they were still in the Pac-12, um, USC, like some of those teams, although some of those were just super late that like maybe I only watched like the first half because like the game wouldn't start till like 9 o'clock Central Time and would be like, oh man, dude, it's just like with baseball when the Royals play on the West Coast, like those games don't be starting till like 8:30, 9 o'clock. Oh my gosh, those are kind of rough. Like I'll I'll start watching the game, but like I hardly ever finish the game. So like some of those, especially if they were playing late now, if they were playing like 2:30 here or even like at 5 o'clock, like okay, I would watch more of a game. Or obviously when they would play at the Texas Tech's, Oklahoma States, those schools in the Central Time Zone, or like so where that game would be at like 11 o'clock or 2 o'clock, for sure. Um, look, I watched him get absolutely lit up by Oregon a couple years ago. I watched him throw a horrible pick six against Nebraska at Nebraska and Lincoln, and I watched him give up and quit on his team in the fourth quarter. Like, you don't see, you didn't see Cam Ward do that. Like, there's a reason Cam Ward went first overall. Like, Cam Ward is a good quarterback. Um, like people were like, "Why? How did he end up going?" Like, no, like when that year he had at Miami, like that absolutely helped him go number one overall. Like Cam Ward is a good quarterback. So like, oh, the NFL's racist. Like literally, Cam Ward went freaking number one overall. Shut up. Um, but yeah, Colorado overhyped like always. They'll win that game. K-State will win that game. Finish 9-3. Now I think they could go 10-2. I don't want to say those are for sure losses. Like other than the Utah, I think that's kind of a for sure loss. I mean, Oklahoma State is a little bit of a loss just again because K State has historically struggled there. Could they beat Baylor in Baylor? Yes, and then go 10-2, losing to Oklahoma State and Utah. Um, and even with 3 conference losses, and I know the tiebreakers are going to be weird, especially with 16 teams in a conference. Um, they still could get to Arlington at 9-3 with 3 conference losses. Um, and then at that point, they would have to win the Big 12 to get into the playoff. Um, I think the Big 12, and to just quickly, the Big 12, I think, gets disrespect. They should have more than one team, but I think they're just going to beat up on each other. That you're going to maybe you have a 10-2 team, but then like the teams that finish second, third, fourth, fifth are going to be like 9-3. And I think that's just going to be enough that they only get one. Like whoever wins down in Arlington, whoever wins the Big 12 championship is getting in. But I think I'll go with it, and I'm not gonna like Benedict when I go over the Big 12, but I'm gonna say Kansas State wins the Big 12 championship this year and goes to the college football playoff. Um, I'll leave more for who I think they'll play, and I think it's gonna be a team that they will have played during the season. Um, that they'll play again in Arlington and either get revenge or, which again, if it's revenge, then oh hey, single out Oklahoma State, Utah, or beat again. All there's 3 teams on there that could get there that they played and that I have them beating that they could beat again down in Arlington. All right, now we will go to the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And this is year 3 for Matt Rule. A huge year 3 for him. Now, again, I feel like he's the right hire for Nebraska. Like, yeah, he's had what back to back, basically 6-6 seasons. Like, okay, not counting. So I think then the year before his first year, they did go to a bowl, but then they lost. So then they technically went 6-7 with the bowl game loss, and then last year 6-6 again, and then won the bowl game to go 7-6. So this is a big year 3. And if you look at his career, when he was at Temple, when he was at Baylor, year 3, those schools took that jump, made that leap. Um, Obviously, then he went to the NFL and coached for Carolina, and that wasn't all that successful. Matt Rule is a college coach, and there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with guys being career college coaches. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that because you can be successful at the college level and still be a really good coach and never have coached a game in the NFL. Now, some have, and then go back to the college level, all Nick Saban, Pete Carroll, although Pete Carroll's not back in the NFL. But you have seen coaches like that, and you've seen some just when they make that leap to college, they stay. Tom Osborne, I believe, never coached in the NFL. I think Bear Bryant never coached in the NFL. Schembechler at Michigan, Woody Hayes, I don't think they ever coached NFL. Like, so at least like Tom Osborne, like those are like really great coaches. Like recognized across, like, not, that's not just me saying that. like they are recognized. Like I believe Tom Osborne is in the College Football Hall of Fame. So that just shows. Yes, he's a former Nebraska coach. I realize that, and that's when Nebraska had their most success was under Tom Osborne. But so I think this is gonna. I think this is the year Nebraska takes that step, and they do have a favorable schedule to do so. Week one, they will play, and again, hey, here's the neutral site game. Although I think that this changed. Like I think this game was supposed to be in Cincinnati, and then it got moved to Arrowhead. So Cincinnati is actually technically the home team. This is an away game for Nebraska, but it is well, and both teams have red, so kind of ironic saying it's going to be a sea of red when both teams are red. Although Cincinnati does have black, so I would expect to see some Cincinnati fans wearing black to stand out a little bit. But it is going to be a Nebraska crowd, and this game is actually going to be on a Thursday night. At Arrowhead. I would love to go to this game. I've been looking at tickets. Don't think I'm going to be able to make it, unfortunately, but I mean, I would absolutely love to go to this game at Arrowhead. Um, Now, granted, I think that since this is a non-conference game, although again, it's going to end up being more of a home game, it will be different. Like if they were playing this uh, comparable, like I mean, I guess like St. Louis, um, Indianapolis would give it a little bit more like true neutral because if you played this game in like Cleveland or in Cincinnati, like where the Bengals play, that would like for sure be a home game for Cincinnati. Um, but I mean, it would be interesting if this game was played on campus in Cincinnati, and I think it would be cool. I think Arrowhead is going to be a absolute crazed environment. Again, it's like that's the thing that's going to turn this into pretty much a Nebraska home game. Um, so I will have Nebraska winning this game 1-0. Then the next two games are actually home games um, as far as non-conference. And I believe it finishes up there, non-con. They will play Akron, and then they will play Houston Christian. Wins 3-0. Enough said. Then the Michigan Wolverines will come to town to Lincoln, Nebraska. And especially being a fan of both, I can see like shout out a couple of podcasts. Like I know I'm shouting out other podcasts on the show, but I mean it's my podcast. I can talk about what I want. Locked On Nebraska and Locked On Wolverines. I absolutely love Isaiah Hole on Locked On Wolverines. And I get where he's coming from because it's like Nebraska has been like hyped, like, oh, okay. And especially like not just this year, like they have been like hyped up a little bit and then fall short. So it's like, okay, we don't know what Nebraska is. Like, could Michigan go in there and win that? And I'll make my prediction here in a second. Um, yeah, could they lose this game? Absolutely. Like, I think Michigan is going to be back when I preview them next. I think they're like they had a down year last year. They're going to be right back in the mix this year. But again, year three on the Mount Rule, those teams have taken a leap. I think Nebraska is going to take a leap this year and be up towards 8, 9, 10 wins. I don't think quite 11. I think the ceiling is 10-2, but I think the floor is 8-4, which like I mean, especially being a Nebraska fan, living in Kansas City, I don't hear like even listen to a couple of Nebraska podcasts. I don't like completely get like the same like I don't have the same I guess like feelings whatever as like people living in Nebraska who are like living and breathing Nebraska football. Like I don't live and breathe them. Like I like Nebraska. But I don't live and breathe Nebraska football. Like I feel like and especially being younger on the younger side having not lived through I mean, I was born in '95, but obviously I would have been like even 5 years old, 2000. So like I didn't live through those '90s, those '80s, like Nebraska teams that were amongst like the best all-time college football teams. So like you have Nebraska fans, especially older Nebraska fans, and then people that live in Nebraska who like obviously are getting that more and are more passionate. Um, like I feel like for them, 8-4 would be a little bit of a letdown. To me, it wouldn't. Like you're going in the right direction. Like you've been uh, just to go regular season. Not that I don't count like the bowl win or loss, um, but like you've been 6-6, which to me, like when 2 years ago in Mountain Rule's first year, when they made a bowl game for the first time, because under Frost, I believe they didn't even make a bowl game. Maybe they did his first year, but like I don't think they made a bowl game. So to me, it was like, and I know like in general in college football, like especially in the transfer portal era and kind of the NIL era, like just getting to a bowl game kind of has lost a little bit. But to me, I'm still a part of that. Like if you can get to a bowl game and like win bowl games and then again with the expanded playoff to 12 teams, and of course there's conversation of further expansion, which I think 16 teams would be perfect to me. Honestly, I think 16 would be perfect. No more. But so you have that expansion that allows you to get in. Now, college is definitely different than NFL, where like you saw last year. I think the only 9-3 team, yeah, the only 9-3 team in that got in was Clemson, and that's because they won their conference championship. They won the ACC championship to get in, and stole a bid. Um, but all the teams that made it were 10-2 or better. So like I think 9-3, that possibility is still there, but like an 8-4 team or below, I don't like especially 6-6, no. Like there would just have to be a lot. Like you're gonna have still enough teams that are 10-2 and 9-3 that like if you don't have a lot of 10-2, then that's where definitely in a season where maybe you only have a handful of 10-2 teams and then just a bunch of 9-3 teams, that's where it opens the door to 9-3. Now, especially if you go to 16, definitely 9-3 is going to get you there. Um, but you could be 9-3 and get in. So like, but you go 8-4 this year, that's still progress. Like I don't heard anything about him being on a hot seat or on a hot seat or anything like that. But if he, and again, as I keep going through, I mean, I'll say this right now, I don't have him going 8-4. I'm going a little bit better than that. But even if they do go 8-4, which I think that's what their floor is, like that's still progress. Like Matt Rule has got them in a good, like Matt Rule has done a good job of turning and building this program like he wants. Like across the board, like you're seeing coaches that are only in year 2, year 3, or going into year 3, and they're like some of them maybe I'll kind of agree on with them being on a hot seat, but like there's just no patience in college football anymore. Like got like schools aren't giving coaches time. Like if you're not winning in year 3 and like okay, and then in if year 4 you're still not like you're gone. Like even if you're putting together 7-5, 8-4 seasons, like people are still getting fired. Like I just feel like there's not that patience anymore to give a guy 4 or 5 years. Because I mean I agree. Like especially in the NIL portal era, like you've seen teams have that quick, a little bit kind of quick turnaround. Uh, but at the same time, like you can bring in those guys, but like they still have to play together. They still have to learn a scheme. Whereas if you've got, and again, like that's part of the um, game too, is like, can you keep these guys? Like, yeah, you like, and then like kind of use the portal to supplement. Like, okay, we had 5 guys leaving the NFL draft or just graduate. So like we kind of need to go get, but then maybe you have juniors that are already like say you have 2 juniors, so now you really only need to go get 3 to supplement. Like that's different than like, oh, well, we had 5 graduate and then we had 3 transfer or like 4 transfer. So then we only have 2 returning starters on defense. And then we even had like maybe like 1 or 2 juniors transfer that would have filled that hole. So like now you have to go and get 10 guys in the portal and like you just don't know how they're going to play together. So I think continuity is like I don't want to say it's like completely underrated, but like I think it's a little bit underrated and undervalued. Like when I get to my Big Ten preview, like look out for Penn State this year. Like they got like pretty much their entire outside of like 1 or 2 guys um that left, and it's because they graduated either either graduated or went to the NFL. Like I think that like Penn like, but look at Michigan a couple years ago. Like they had a lot of returning production for that 2023 team. Even Ohio State had enough production. That school to the south. um, they had enough returning production that that it was like, all right, we want to come back and do this. Like, okay, cool. Like, look at what that got them. Like, and then you see teams that are almost like always in the portal who get hyped because it's like, and I mean, like we can look at these rankings and like, and again, Mizzou had a top 25, I think even top 10 transfer portal class. Like, I think that's huge, but like, and I'm not saying Mizzou is one of those schools that is constantly going in the portal, but like sometimes you see those schools and they don't do as good because, or maybe they hit the stride late, but like at that point they've already lost 2, 3 games and they don't have that chance to make the playoff. Because like in college, it's different. Like you lose 3 or more games, like your seat, like not over, but your chance of winning a national championship are not there. Like now, like can you still go to a bowl game and win? Absolutely. But you know, so I think Nebraska and they have been so like I'm not the only one saying this because like it has been talked about. Like okay, um, but it has been a little bit subdued. Um, but I think Nebraska is going to surprise some people this year. And I think now if this game was being played up in Michigan at the Big House, I think Nebraska loses. But with this game being in Lincoln at home, that crowd's going to be insane. That is going to be a huge, big atmosphere. I don't think now could they? I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a close. It's going to be a good game. I think Nebraska gets Michigan 4-0. Then they'll play Michigan State, win 5-0. Then they will go on the road to Maryland, win 6-0. Um, then they will go to Minnesota. Now Minnesota's solid. PJ Fleck, who's the coach there, he's a solid coach. I think Minnesota gets Nebraska for their first loss, so 6-1. Then they'll play Northwestern 7-1. Then they will play USC, who I think USC is going to be improved, but with that game being in Lincoln, I lean Nebraska. 8-1. Yeah, yeah. Then they will play at UCLA, which they surprisingly lost to last year. Obviously, now this game's going to be on the road, but I think they get them 9-1. Then they'll play at Penn State. That is going to be a really tough game. Can they go in there and win? Yeah, not like super confident, as you can tell in my voice. I think they go on the road and lose to Penn State 9-2. Then they will come home and play Iowa. Yes, I know this, even with this pick, knowing full well that Iowa has like pretty much just dominated Nebraska, and there's been a lot of close games that literally were won like on the last play of the game, whether it be like a field goal to win it or just in the last minutes of the fourth quarter, Iowa won the game. I think they get. We just said it last year. I mean, obviously, this was just like last year. I thought going into the game they would beat them, and they had a lead in the game. Like they've even had leads some of the other games, but I think they get it done. They finally get it done against Iowa. Uh, so 10-2, 10-2 for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Um, don't I will say I don't think that's going to be good enough because again, you got Oregon up there, you got Penn State, that school to the south, Michigan, who I think is going to be back. Um, I don't think they'll be in the Big Ten title game, but I would say they make the playoff. 10-2, just like Missouri, um, or even 11-1 for Missouri. Um, going to be good enough to make it into the playoff. Uh, now we will go to the University of Michigan. Go blue. They will play. Um, I think they're going to be. So they were 7-5, 8-5 with the bowl win. Yeah, they were definitely down last year, especially because offense wasn't all that good. They couldn't really throw a forward pass, and that's no hate on Alex Orji. Like I wish him the best success because he transferred out. So I wish him nothing but the best. But he can't really throw the football. And as a quarterback, you kind of need to throw the football. So now they got Bryce Underwood. Like, I mean, yeah, I know there's going to be a lot of heavy expectations on him, but like, he's coming as a big time recruit for a reason. Like now, like not all um, high school recruits pan out. Like, there's been plenty of that have flamed out, but like, I truly believe in Bryce Underwood. And I know that's a homer pick, homer sounding, but I believe in Bryce Underwood. So week one, they'll play New Mexico for their home opener. Win. Then they will head to Norman, Oklahoma to take on the Sooners. I mean, that is going to be a tough game, and especially if Bryce Underwood is the starting quarterback, which all signs kind of look like he will be, making his first as a true freshman, making his start on the road for the first time is going to be difficult. But again, I don't believe in Oklahoma this year, which will still probably be ranked because I don't even know who they play week one. Again, like a lot of schools, like I mean, there are some decent. Once I get to my, which that'll be in a couple weeks because this is week 0. So then week 1, even week 2, there's like some good non-conference games out there. But for the most part, a lot of teams just play. Like I mean, Michigan's playing New Mexico. Yeah, especially week 1, they don't really play a big like that. Now again, are there? Yes. So with that being week 2, I think it's nice. Like because again, but it's still not like especially playing like Michigan's capacity in the big house is over 100,000. So like it's not like he's going to be playing in front of a small crowd week 1. Like he's going to be playing if it is Bryce Underwood, he's going to be playing in front of a big crowd at home. So it'll at least help him a little bit. Now, obviously, that's not hostile. Like it's going to be a hostile crowd down in Norman, but I think at least playing in front of a big crowd, like he'll be at least used to be playing in front of a big crowd. Like having that, week 1, kind of helps. So I think they go down, beat Oklahoma 2-0. Central Michigan win 3-0. Like I just said on my Nebraska preview, Michigan will play Nebraska, loss. So they'll be 3-1. Then they will come home and play Wisconsin, who Wisconsin is kind of down right now, which kind of stinks. Like I like when Wisconsin's good. When Wisconsin is good, it's not just good for the Big Ten. I think it's good. It's good for college football. But they have gotten away from their identity of pound the rock and run the football. and gone to like more air raid. And I think they need to get back to their identity of like there's been so many good running backs that have come out of Wisconsin. So um they need to get back to that identity. Um so 4-1. And then they will play at USC in the Coliseum. Now that's gonna be a tough place to play. That's gonna be a tough road game. Um, but I think they get it done. 5-1. Then they will play Wisconsin, or not. Sorry, not Wisconsin. Washington, Washington beat them last year. But now this game is in Ann Arbor. I think they get it done. 6-1. Michigan State, little brother, 7-1. Purdue, 8-1. Northwestern, 9-1. Maryland. Wait, no, sorry. I am off. 4, 5, 6, 8. 8-1 with Purdue, 9-1. Okay, maybe I was right. Then Maryland, 10-1. Like people saying Michigan's gonna go like 7-5 again or 8-4. Like, are we looking at the same schedule? Like, yes, like okay, I think Washington's gonna be improved, but you have that game at home. Like, okay, this is year 2 with Michigan State with their new coach, but like, and again, it's rivalry game, and like under Harbaugh, they did beat Michigan a little bit, um, but like they're like, I don't see them winning that game. Like, and again, yes, it's going to be a lot of pressure, and especially if Underwood is the quarterback. Like, but I think he can get it done. Like Michigan went 8-5, couldn't throw a forward pass, still beat Ohio State on the road in their building as 21-point underdogs with a third string quarterback. Shout out Davis Warren. I mean, can't see survivor, so hey, shout him out. But like, I mean, he's your third string quarterback. And then you beat Alabama in the bowl game with your backups. And you couldn't really throw a forward pass. So like now you actually have a quarterback. You got like a really good ground game, which like it's Michigan, like pound the freaking rock, but they can still throw the ball. And they got good receivers. And like yeah, their defense is going to take a little bit of hit because they lost some big time guys to the NFL. But like they didn't play in the bowl game against Alabama. So like those second string guys got valuable experience and playing time in that game against Alabama that is going to help them this year. Now, again, I think that the defense is going to take a step back, but I mean, like you send like so what you have them. I mean, I do have them losing Nebraska, so okay, and I'm sure people have them losing to Oklahoma. I don't like. I mean, could they lose that game down in Norman, Oklahoma? Yeah, they could. I'm not saying they can't, but I feel like they're like, oh, that's going to be a loss. Like, okay, they have Nebraska, they have USC as a loss, Washington. Like they're picking Michigan State, and then of course the game at the end of the season, Ohio State. We've won 4 in a row. Don't see that ending. We beat them in their own building as 21-point dogs last year, and now we have a much better improved team. When 11-1. Um, yeah. Um, called me complete homer, complete Michigan bias. Oh, they're cheaters. Shut up. Literally every team steals signs. Sorry, your school couldn't do it better. And it was Ohio State was the one that, like Ryan O'Day was the one that filed the investigation because his like brother-in-law or something, like especially if you've watched that Sign Stealer documentary on, I believe it's Amazon Prime. Oh no, not Amazon Prime, on Netflix. Like it talks about like Ryan O'Day's like brother or brother-in-law is like a private investigator. Like they illegally hacked into Stallion's computer. Like he was just really good. Like, okay, could he have like scouted, like maybe done some stuff a little bit illegal? I'm not gonna turn that out, but like literally, or but especially under Harbaugh, like they knew Michigan, like Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin, they knew Michigan signs. Now, again, just because you know a team's signs doesn't automatically mean you're gonna win the game because they could change the signs up, but like it's still on the players to go out and execute. And people saying like, "Oh, the championship is tainted." Like Harbaugh was suspended those last 3 games of the season, um, and you still won. And Stallions was even fired before that. Well, he wasn't fired; he resigned. Um, so Stallions was already gone by that point, and they still beat Penn State. Yeah, because Harbaugh, because he was suspended right before the Penn State game. Like Michigan was on the plane to the Penn State game, had landed in Happy Valley, like had landed there, and then the news came out that Harbaugh was suspended. So, like, how are you going to suspend him when you're already there? Because you're just trying to like throw Michigan. Like, okay, yes, I've watched that documentary and I absolutely, but like that team was talented. That team was absolutely talented, and then they, even with everything going on, they still went out and won. They won, and then they won the national championship. Um, so no, uh, so yeah, 11-1. I'll say I'll kind of save it a little bit for the Big Ten preview, but I'm gonna say Michigan gets back, wins the Big Ten after winning it for 3 years in a row, having a year hiatus. They're back. They win the Big Ten championship. Um, Now I will talk about, guess who? The Miami Hurricanes. Throw the muse up. Throw the muse up. Um, I think they did have a good year last year. Like they went 10-2. Um, I've heard. I feel like I've heard some similar, not like from Miami, just maybe like the college football community in general. I was saying like Cristobal is like on the hot seat. I don't think he should be because yeah, he's had some questionable decisions, and like that Georgia Tech loss. What was it, 2 years ago? Where like, well, like all they had to take a knee or whatever it was, and then they lost the game to Georgia Tech. Like that was insane. Um, but like I think they've still at least been 6-6, 7-5, and then they went 10-2 last year. So like he's got them in good direction. And they have a lot of talent. Yeah, you don't have Cam Ward, you got Carson Beck now. But at least from what I'm hearing, um, from what news I've seen and heard, um, like they've had a really good camp. Like now, again, it's kind of like spring training or not. Well, yeah, spring training for baseball, and then preseason and like training camp in the NFL. Like, okay, yeah, you hear a lot of this, and it's like, okay, cool. I want to see it once the games actually mean something. So like, it's cool that like we're hearing all like. There's been a lot of good news coming out of camp for the Canes, but like I want to see it. But I think they're one of the top ACC teams. Them, Clemson, Louisville, SMU, like they're at the top. So and they actually have a big game week one. And it's going to be played on Sunday night, which it's interesting that they're not playing Saturday, but okay, they're playing on Sunday, which again, this will be week one. So next week will be week one. This is week 0. Like so then the NFL technically starts week 2 of the college football season. So like that's why you see like the last couple years, I mean probably longer than that, like the last 5-10 years or whatever it's been, you've seen like not just like bad games, like okay, like week 3 they'll play USF. Uh like not that. Like we like last year was LSU USC, and I think the year before was um LSU Florida State. So like we've seen the like big games, like big time matchups on that Sunday night. And Miami is playing Notre Dame week 1 in Miami, and Notre Dame is number 6. Miami is, I believe, number 10. They're so you got a huge matchup here week 1. Um, I think like Notre Dame is going to be good this year. I mean, yeah, I know they had that horrible loss to Northern Illinois last year, but they were still a solid team, and they made that a little bit of a run in the playoff. Um, Ultimately losing in the national championship game. But so I think they're going to be solid. They're going to be good again this year. But especially that game in August in Miami, it's still going to be hot in Florida. Them coming down to play in that heat, I think if that game was being played in South Bend, I think Notre Dame would win. With this game being played down in Miami, and that's where, like, I mean, I'm not saying there's not home field. Like Arrowhead, absolutely tough place to play. Lambeau, tough place to play. But like, especially in college, you'd have like you. There are true home field, like definite home field advantage. I mean, we saw that in the playoff. All the like in the first round, all the home teams won and dominated. So there is true home field advantage in college football. Yeah, I know they're playing in the Dolphins Stadium, but like that game is going to be a sellout. Like the last time Notre Dame played them in Miami, that was a sellout, and Miami beat them. So I think Miami's going to get Notre Dame week 1. And they have 2 lackluster opponents in Bethune-Cookman and USF wins. Then they'll play Florida. And Florida is weirdly hyped, and they haven't done anything in the last like 5 years, 10 years, especially under Billy Napier. They're going to win that game. Like they won that game and went into the swamp last year and whooped up on Florida. Like and the swamp is, it can be, especially when Florida is actually good, and one of the top programs, not just in the SEC but in college football. But they're not right now. Like the swamp, other than like especially early in the year when it's still hot in Florida, but like Miami plays in Florida. So they're going to be used to the heat. So like when they went into the swamp last year, like they're used to that heat, unlike especially like northern teams or teams in the Midwest, like who aren't like complete, well, although I would argue, especially like Missouri, like you're still going to be somewhat used to that heat. But like for Minnesota, if they were to go down there, like they're not going to be used to that heat. So, but like Miami, like they went to the swamp and cooked them last year. Like they dominated Florida last year. I think they dominated them again. I mean, new QB, but by then you're 3 weeks into the season, um, and I think they get, and then they have a okay. So then they'll play Florida State next, but they have a bye, play Florida State, and then a bye again. Like that's kind of weird. I don't like that. Like that other bye should be spread out because then they'll play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and if they get to the ACC championship, 8 games in a row. Like that's crazy. Like that other bye should be a little bit later in the year. But then they'll play Florida State. So they'll play 3 Florida schools. So they kind of like pretty much have a chance to be the state of Florida. They don't play UCF, but they'll play USF Bulls. Florida State was absolutely horrible last year. I don't see people are saying they'll be improved, and they could be. Like again, I'm not like tuned into what like Florida State news, but just like they're still not that good. Like yeah, that game being in Tallahassee again. Okay, it's a road game, so it's going to be tough, and it's a rivalry game, so you can throw records out the window. So I have Miami at 4-0. So I mean, Florida State could be 4-0 too, or 5-0 if they play the week before. I don't know what their schedule is. Could they be? Yeah. So, but again, and if they're not, like they could be 1-4 or something. Throw the records out the window. It's a rivalry game. Like Miami, Florida State is one of the best rivalries in college football. But I got Miami winning 5-0. Again, Louisville is going to be at the top of the ACC. And just looking at this schedule, like Miami has a really easy schedule, like favorable schedule. I think they beat Louisville 6-0. Stanford, they're horrible right now, 7-0. Then they'll play SMU on the road. I think SMU is going to have like okay, they went 10-2, so could they go 10-2? But I think they might be like 9-3, maybe 8-4 this year. Still really good, still at the top, still competing for the ACC crown. I think they get Miami, so that's I have that as Miami's first loss and put I think probably only loss. Um, so 7-1. I mean Syracuse is decent 8-1. The NC State Pussy Pack. um, 8-1 or 9-1 at Virginia Tech. Like I think Virginia Tech is going to be improved, and Blacksburg, and I obviously we don't know what time that like if that's a night game, like that crowd is absolutely crazy. Like that could be a loss. Um, I'm not going to predict it as one. I'm going to say when. So 10-1. Um, but that could be a loss for Miami. And then they'll play Eat Shit Pitt for the final game on the road. Win 11-1. So they improved from 10-2 to 11-1. Like I think Miami is absolutely a team to watch out for this year. I think they're amongst my that I think they can win. And again, especially with 12 team, it's expanded, but they're among my teams that I think can win a national championship. And I actually am going to say they won the ACC for their first time ever. They have never won an ACC championship since joining the ACC, and they've been in the ACC for like 20 years or whatever it is, ever since they left the Big East. They have not won. Like I'm pretty sure they were still Big East in the early 2000s when they won their last national championship. When like those Miami teams, like Ken Dorsey, Kellen Winslow, Jeremy Shockey, Ed Reed. Like that 2001 Miami team was absolutely insane. But I'm pretty sure they were still in the Big East at the time. So they were winning, but like obviously they didn't win like an ACC championship because they weren't in ACC. So they've never won an ACC championship. So I'm going to say they get there. They could have and probably should have won it last year, but losing to Syracuse after leading that game and blowing that game in the last week of the season. Because if they would have won, they would have gone to the now, and then they would have played SMU, and SMU could have beaten them. Like I have SMU beating them this year, so they still could have lost. But at least I think they've been in it, but they've lost to like Clemson or like Florida State or Louisville in the ACC championship. But this year, I think they get it done. I think they win the ACC. So now I'll just go over AP rankings and just kind of give my opinion and thought. Before I get into whether I like the school or not, and this goes the same for basketball, I am one of those that absolutely I feel like whoever won the national championship last year should be ranked number one coming into the season. Yes, I know college is different. Like you got, especially in the NIL and transfer portal, but even with that, like, okay, like who graduated, like, who went to the NFL, like who did you lose to, like, NFL or just graduation in general. Like I know that does play a factor, but like until you get beat, you should be number one. So, Texas is actually number one coming into the season. So Penn State won, or not, sorry, not Penn State, my bad. Ohio State, see, that's how much I don't like them. I didn't even say they won the national championship because, I don't think they did. Mickey Mouse, you didn't win the conference championship. You didn't beat your rival. Michigan won 13-10. Okay, so, sorry, I mean, did I say anything there? I think there was just like a space of like me not talking. I think something happened. My bad. I'm sorry, guys. So Texas is number one. Penn State is number two. Ohio State is number three. Clemson is number four. Georgia is number five. Notre Dame is number 6, Oregon is number 7, Alabama is number 8, LSU is number 9, Miami is number 10, Arizona State number 11. All that I am fine with. Now here's where we're starting into some disagreements. Illinois is number 12. Like, yes, they went what, like 9-3 last year, I'm pretty sure. And they have like a whole bunch of guys like Penn State, like they have a whole bunch of production returning, but it like I mean, again, we'll get to them. And like one team's not ranked, but like Ohio State, Penn State, and again, I don't know what their schedule, and I'm not going to look it up. Um, like Oregon, but like I think USC is going to be improved. Like Nebraska is going to be improved. Like I just think there's so many teams, like some in Michigan, like they're going to be improved. And Indiana made the playoff last year. Like I think they're getting slept on a little bit. Um, like I get it, they're returning, and that's partly what like these rankings like. And I just also get just un like weirdly and stupidly mad and angry at preseason rankings. I mean, absolutely nothing because I would rather be ranked at the end of the year than at the beginning of the year. Now, it helps to be ranked at the beginning, but like, I mean, okay, Michigan was, and I think they were, I'm pretty sure even top 10, and they finished the year unranked. Like, okay, like they're not top 10, but they're top 15. Like, we're going to see. I mean, I feel like, okay, again, Texas, Penn State, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama, LSU, Miami. Although, I mean, kind of looking at their schedule again that I just went through with Miami, maybe not. But like out of those, I would say um Texas, although I wouldn't say unranked, but like Texas, LSU, and Miami are probably the three most likely that start in the top 10 that could not might not finish in the top 10. Um, but um and even Notre Dame might not maybe not finishing in the top 10, but like I don't see any of them bottom out. Like I think Michigan was I biased and like happy and like didn't think they were going to have the season they ended up having, like going to 7-5. I mean, and even 8-5, especially with the bowl win over um, Alabama. But I didn't see it going down that far. Um, but so I don't see any of them bottoming out like at worst like 8-4, 9-3, um, 10-2, something like that. But um, like I can see Illinois not finishing top 25. Um, yeah. And then number 13, we're on to another one, South Carolina. I think they're overhyped. Like I get it. Lenore Sellers, like he showed flashes, like he showed good last year. So okay, he's coming into a sophomore season, but what's he gonna do? Um, like I'm just like trying to like, because like we have seen quarterbacks like okay year one and they just keep building on that success, but we have seen quarterbacks in their sophomore year have a sophomore slump and then they come back their junior year better. Um, but so like, what are you going to get from him? Because he's still learning. And there's nothing wrong with that. And again, I'm high on Michigan. Like I think Bryce Underwood. So then, like, if he has a really good year, could you be looking at a sophomore slump from Bryce Underwood next year if he has a really good freshman year? Um, but they lost a ton on defense. So like I'm not that high on South Carolina, like a lot of people are, and especially like freaking them having being number 13 in the poll. Get out of here. Those two I can see not being in the top 25 at the end of the year. Number 14, Michigan. I'm okay with that. I mean, I wouldn't have them in the top 10. I would have them like at number 12. Like I would have them below Arizona State. I mean, There are, but like I would have them like right below Arizona State. Now we're back into another one. Florida at number 15. Like I get it. A lot of it is on DJ Lagway. Like he showed flashes, but he showed like again to bring it up. If you've watched that SEC documentary on Netflix, like any given Saturday, like like as much flash as he showed just as much like just horrible, like some horrible decisions and stuff. Like, and I get it, like especially as a freshman quarterback, and especially being thrown in, especially like at the University of Florida. Like, okay, but what are you going to get from him this year? I like Billy Napier constantly underachieves. Like he's on the hot seat, and for a reason. Like he could get fired this year. Um, and I think he will. I mean, they've been calling for it, and then like, okay, they were like, I don't think 0-6 because I think they finished 6-6. Um, but I think they won like 5 games in a row to end the year. But like, you also look at who they played. Well, and they also had that shocking win over Ole Miss, who Ole Miss is going to come back and want to get revenge this year. Like they have a tough as heck schedule. And I'm not going to just say because they're in the SEC. Like, no, they like have a super tough schedule. I can see them going 6-6 again or 5-7. How like again, this is just me getting stupid mad at preseason rankings that don't mean anything, but it's like, tell me like from last year, what makes you think Florida is a top 15 team? Like I would still get upset if they were even ranked at all, but like at least if they were number 25, like fine, whatever. Make them number 25. Like they could quickly like lose in the first couple weeks. Like again, like what is it, week 4 that they play Miami? They could be out by then. Like even if they win their first 3 games, like they could be out after that Miami loss. Like it's just gets ridiculous that they're number 15. SMU 16, I think they're getting a little bit disrespected. Like again, them and Michigan, I would have a higher. And then there's other teams I would have in the rankings that aren't ranked. And I get like, okay, well, you have like fine Illinois and South Carolina. Like they had decent seasons last year. So at least them being ranked, like I disagree with how high. Like I think they should be like 24, 25, like 20 to 25 in that range, not top 15, not top 20. Um, but like I feel like Missouri should be ranked. They're not. Uh, Texas Tech. I don't know. Well, no, they might be. Sorry, I think they are. My bad. Yeah, they are. Um, but there's some like I think USC should be ranked. I think now again like USC Nebraska low like 24, 25, something like that. But like I think they should be ranked over like a Florida. So then Kansas State comes in at number 17. Let's go, baby. EMA. And then here's another one. Oklahoma. Again, if they were like 25, fine. Like with Florida, like whatever. But like that's just because, oh, they're the University of Florida. Oh, they're the University of Oklahoma. To me, that's the only reason that they're ranked. Um, Tell me after last year why Oklahoma should be a top 20 team, top 25 team in the country, especially top 20 team in the country. No. And again, Venables is on the hot seat, could be fired. A&M 19. Okay, cool. All right. Number 20, Indiana. I think they're being a little bit slept on. 21, Ole Miss. All right. 22, Iowa State. Okay. 23. Okay, so they are ranked. Texas Tech. 24, Tennessee. 25, Boise State. Other than again, 2 that I feel like absolutely shouldn't in Florida and Oklahoma, and 2 that I just think are overranked, overhyped in Illinois and South Carolina. Preseason polls are all right. All it does is just give you like, oh, okay, because I know there are like week 2, like Michigan and Oklahoma are playing week 2. Week 1 you have Miami, Notre Dame, but and then week 0 you have Kansas State, Iowa State. All it does is just kind of give you those like week 1 or 2, like, oh, we can have these teams not like matched up. I mean, obviously the schedule's already been there. Like you know who you're playing. So it's just like kind of like, oh well, we can make this into this matchup now, this ranked matchup. Where like you truly don't know what your team is until September. Like that's really when rankings start to matter, is September, October. So um now I will predict my conference winners and national championship winner. At least for the power four conferences. I'm not going to go every conference. I'm just going to do the power four. So I'll go alphabetical order. Now, a couple of them I've already said, and I'm not going to Benedict on it. ACC, and I'll kind of give a game prediction too. I will say again, I've said ACC Miami is going to win. I think they beat Clemson. I'll say it's Miami and Clemson in the ACC championship game, and Miami gets like I said on their team and like schedule preview that I did. Um, I'll say Miami gets it done. They win the ACC this year. I believe Big 12 technically. No, Big 10. Sorry, Big 10. I said Michigan after a 1 year hiatus after winning it 3 years in a row. I say Michigan's back, and they beat Penn State in the Big Ten championship game to reclaim the throne and crown in the Big Ten. And then Big 12, I said Kansas State. I think Kansas State, even though I have them going 9-3, and they could be 10-2, but I still say even 9-3 can get you to Arlington, even with 3 conference losses, because the Big 12 is going to be chaos this year. I mean, you got Rich Rod back at West Virginia. I think they're going to be improved. I mean, you have Arizona State, Baylor, Texas Tech, TCU. I think Utah's going to be improved. BYU's, I mean, I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back, but they're still decent. I think Houston is going to be improved. It's going to be a wild ride in the Big 12 this year, but I will say Kansas State beats Texas Tech in Arlington to win the Big 12 championship. And then finally the SEC. I will say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia wins the SEC again, and they won it last year in a quote unquote down year, and they still were 10-2 and won the SEC. I think again, LSU, Ole Miss, Missouri, Texas A&M, Texas, Alabama, they're all going to be in that mix for Atlanta. I'll say it's A&M that gets there. They actually finally make a conference championship game, and especially an SEC championship game, but they fall short against Georgia, not Alabama. So okay, not Alabama. Georgia, go Dogs. Go Dogs. Sorry, I had to get my game day in there. Although that was hilarious. When Pat McAfee, I almost blanked on his name for a second, on game day, did that whole thing with good. What's that coming down the track? It's the men black. Come after me, Georgia fans. I'm sorry for butchering the song. But when he did that, and then at the very end was like, Roll Tide. Like, oh my gosh. Like, completely just bam on the Georgia fans that were there. And then I'm pretty sure Alabama ended up winning that game. But that was hilarious. That was hilarious when McAfee did that. But I think Georgia, I mean, they're one of the top teams in the nation right now. They win the SEC. Now for my national championship pick. Yes, I have them losing. So if you caught on who I said Big Ten, and I said it was Penn State, losing to Michigan in the Big Ten championship game. I mean, like I said, let's go down south, Mickey Mouse championship. Didn't win a conference championship. Didn't even be in the championship game. I lost to their rival, Michigan. Go Blue, 13-10 as 21-point favorites. Oh, sorry. I think my audio cut out there for a second. But whoever won the national championship last year, I can't remember who. They did it without winning a conference championship game. So, like in this expanded playoff era, and we already saw it last year, you're going to see teams that don't win the conference championship game, whether they lost it or just didn't make it, win the national championship. So I think Penn State wins it this year. I think they get it done. I mean, they have like their entire roster coming back outside of Tyler Warren and I think like one or two other guys. Like their entire roster is coming back. And again, people have questioned James Franklin, like, oh, he can't win the big game. And I mean, I've been there too. Like he hardly beats Michigan. He doesn't beat Ohio State. Although I mean, I know the game's in Columbus this year, but I think Penn State actually beats Ohio State this year. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they do what they always do and lose that game. Just, and go like 11-1 with that being their only loss. That would probably be a very Penn State thing. But I think Penn State wins the national championship this year. Like they got a lot coming back. I think they beat. I will say they. I know Georgia's really good, but I say Georgia doesn't get there. I say Penn State beats. I say they have. Not a rematch. Or yeah, a rematch. Because I think Oregon could, or no, I think they beat Notre Dame. Sorry, I'll say they beat Notre. I say Notre Dame gets back and loses it again. This time to Penn State. So Penn State is my national champion. But I think it's wide open. Georgia could win it. LSU could win it. Oregon can win it. Getting a homer. I think Michigan can win it this year. I mean, again, if things break right, like I could see Kansas State or Mizzou winning it. I could see Notre Dame winning it. I can see Clemson winning it. Actually, I'll rephrase that. I'm going to say Penn State beats Clemson in the national championship. But I could see Clemson winning it. I could see Miami winning it. So there's a handful, like, I mean, that's probably more than a handful. Like, there's like, 6-10 teams that can like realistically win the national championship this year. So I am excited. College football is back this week. It is week 0. Again, I will drop my week 0 picks predictions later this week. But I am just excited for college football to be back. I mean, again, I'm still a huge baseball fan. Excited for them to be postseason. Excited for the stretch run for the MLB. But again, this is my college football one. So I'm excited for college football to be back, baby. Last Saturday was the last Saturday without college football until January. So let's go. College football is back. I'm just going to say this. M-I-Z. I better hear see some ZOUs in the comments because let's go. I mean, Mizzou is my team. They're my ride or die team. So again, with that, M-I-Z.